Hi guys, and welcome back to my podcast. First of all, I know that it's been literally 6 months, okay? 6 months since I've last made an episode and actually uploaded it onto this channel. I have tried to make episodes since my last video, but I just didn't actually go through with uploading some of them, or I didn't finish them halfway through. But then also, when I say halfway through, just know that that episode had literally an hour of footage at least already on it. So yeah, but anyways, I honestly don't really have a plan for today, but I just want to tell you guys that I have so much stuff to tell you guys about. But the thing for me is, like, when I'm like making this podcast, I really want to actually be feeling that emotion or whatever topic that I would like to be talking about. I just want to be really feeling a certain emotion related to that topic very strongly, so then I can actually passionately talk about it, because otherwise I don't really feel like making the episode. I don't know how to explain it, but anyways, I'm not really feeling a particular emotion today, which is funny because over the past 6 months, I have felt many different emotions very strongly. Even 2 days ago, I was feeling an emotion very strongly as well. So I don't really have that much to talk about today. I have a lot to talk about, but today in particular, I don't know if I want to be talking about a lot of those things just yet, but don't you worry, because I will be making episode upon episode on episode on episode on all of those things. But anyways, for now, I'm literally just going to go through my notes app and just talk about things that I found in my notes app that were interesting that I've written over the past month or so. Okay, first thing that I just saw in my notes app is something that I wrote last week, and I'll read it out loud, or parts of it, and then I'll kind of explain what I was trying to say. Okay. So the thing that I wrote last week was, just because time has passed doesn't mean that your wrongdoings were suddenly erased. And I really don't understand why people, when they gain... Wait, I didn't phrase this right. Okay, I'll just basically summarize what I was trying to say. I'll repeat what I just said and then I'll continue. Okay, just because time has passed doesn't mean that your wrongdoings were suddenly erased. And I don't really understand why, when people, I guess, gain some sense of self-awareness later on down the line, why they look back at their horrible actions that they've committed against other people, and why they don't then apologize to said people once they realize that they've fucked up in the past. And I will actually stand on this ground. That being said, obviously, I know it's not necessarily realistic in every single situation, but let's say you, I don't know, bullied someone in high school. Not me, by the way. But let's say you bullied someone in high school or something. Why would you, if let's say you, I don't know, years later came to realize, oh wow, you were a horrible person and a horrible bully to other people, why would you not go and try to reach out to them and apologize if you truly actually felt bad, if you actually had such a strong sense of remorse and guilt? And okay, sure, some people can argue, well, that's opening up a can of worms that it's, I don't know, I guess you could ask, is it even a productive thing to do? What is that really going to do for that person? But in my mind, I just think also at the same time, I think wow, you, the person who apparently bullied someone but now has changed as a person, do you really feel that guilty about your previous actions? Do you really think you were that horrible of a person? Which I guess you were, but do you actually believe that, or are you just kind of believing that? You know what I mean? And is your pride and is your ego that fucking huge that you, I guess, let that get in the way? You let time get in the way of you admitting to your wrongdoings? It doesn't matter how long it's been since you did something wrong. You can't just, 5 years later after you did something horrible, you can't just go and say, well, I've changed as a person. Okay, where is the proof of that? You haven't changed as a person, though, if all it is that you've gained some level of self-awareness. I feel like that's not really actually proof of you changing as a person. Maybe your mindset changed a little bit, but again, I feel like you have to look at the actual facts of a situation. And like, I guess this is also inspired by this girl I saw on TikTok who basically, she was saying like, yeah, well, if you knew me in high school, yeah, of course I was a fucking bitch. Like, I think these were her words. I don't know. But, like, she was like, of course I was a horrible person in high school. But, you know, people have changed. So stop talking bad about me online or to other people or whatever it is. Like, obviously I've changed. But when I saw that TikTok in my head, I'm like, well, it's very clear from what she said in her video. I didn't explain her video right. But it's very clear that, like, she never really gave those people a reason to think that she would have changed otherwise over the past 5 years. Like, why would those people that she bullied in high school, like, why would they know? How would they know that? You know, like, they probably don't keep up with you after you've graduated high school. They probably wouldn't know. The only impression that they have of you is that you were a bully and a bad person to them. So how would they even know that you've supposedly changed? And also, again, in that situation, I guess maybe I'm just like projecting. Not projecting in a weird sense, as in I'm not talking about my personal experience here. I just mean it as in, like, if I were that person, if I supposedly was this horrible person to someone in high school, like, which I wasn't, hopefully I wasn't, trust me, I was like lame, okay, like, no, anyways, but if I were that person though, I would feel so bad if I gained some self-awareness and actually realized, like, oh, I was a horrible person, and I would actually want to apologize to someone, even if it was 20 years down the line, because I guess that feeling would be eating me alive. I guess because I do now value, not that I didn't before, but I especially now value morals and integrity and things like that, I guess. So my question, after all I just said, is I just don't understand why you would let your pride and your ego get in the way of you actually owning up to something bad that you did. If you actually have changed, okay? Like, if you've actually changed, why wouldn't you just apologize? Yes, I get it. There are, like, logistical and practical reasons that could interfere with that. But if you truly actually felt horrible for what you did, if you actually have become a better person, I feel like the actions would actually show. And you just gaining self-awareness is, in my opinion, not enough. You have to actually prove and show to other people that you've changed. So yeah, that is the first thing that I saw in my notes app. I didn't write all of that down, obviously, but that was something that I was randomly thinking about the other day. Let's see what else I have written in my notes app, okay? This is like so silly, but I've said this before, but my podcasts are going to be very much inspired by Madeline Argy's podcast, Pretty Lonesome, because I am literally her number one podcast fan. Like, whatever it is, like, just trust me, okay? Like, I have watched every single episode. I watch everything on her YouTube channel, and she's literally like me. Sorry, my oven just went off. Give me a sec. Okay, next idea in my notes app, which I wrote 2 days ago. And okay, we've all seen this discourse online about how moving to a very big city like New York City, for example, it can really make you such an independent person, and it forces you to actually become one. And don't get me wrong, I do agree with that. Like, I do think that idea is true. However, I also think people discount the fact that actually sometimes being in a different kind of city other than like the New York kind of city can still make you quite independent, if not more independent. Just depends on your personality to some extent, in my opinion. But for example, in the city that I live in, it's a major metropolitan, is that the right word? Metroplex? Hold on. Metropolitan city? Hold on. Metropolitan area, okay. I just Googled it, but yeah, I live in a very big, major city in the United States, and it's not known for being like a New York kind of city at all, but it's still a very big area. Everyone has heard of this city before, and it's kind of known for being a little more suburban-ish, but not really at the same time. It just depends on your perspective, to be honest. But anyways, I think to some extent, living in a city like the city that I currently live in can actually make you more independent sometimes than living in a city like New York, because I think that in a city that I live in, for example, I think that if you have a certain kind of personality, now this is where that exception kicks in. If you have a certain kind of personality, where you actually feel the desire to create your own life, let's say, or actually, go out there, try to meet new people, try to make new experiences, try to do the things that you would do in a city like New York. If you are actively pushing yourself to do that, I actually think then that living in a major city that's not like the crazy hustle and bustle that New York has to offer, I think that it can actually make you more independent than living in New York. But when I say New York, by the way, I actually specifically mean like the transplant area of New York, not like the local aspect of New York. But I think it can actually apply to both to some extent. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying. But my city in particular, for example, I think that you kind of, if you want to actually live the same experience in your 20s that you would in New York, you have to actually push yourself out there. You have to create your own reality, you have to create your own life, the one that you actually want to have, as opposed to living in a city like New York where it's literally all handed to you. I mean, that's why it's such an easy move for Gen Z to move to New York in the first place. It's because you move there and already just on your own, you naturally just become more independent. But it's kind of a lot easier, I guess, to be in New York and do that, because it's kind of a thing that you just, I don't know, your environment, allows that to happen for you. It's much easier for you to become independent, as I said. And so I think to some extent, maybe moving to cities or living in a city like, I don't know, a suburban-ish, but not completely suburban, like major city, like the one I live in. I'll try to give examples without like actually saying the city that I live in. It doesn't even matter, like my city's big, but I don't know, living in a city like I don't know, my mind is honestly going blank. But okay, like LA, Vegas. Okay, Vegas is a bad one. LA, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, Orlando, Washington, D.C. Basically, major cities that are not the most major city in the United States, essentially. That's what I'm saying. I think that cities like Chicago, I don't know. Well, Chicago, anyways, I think that maybe cities like that, they actually make you more independent, because if that's what you want, it's entirely up to you now as to how you live your life. And yeah, you can take the easier route in these cities and, maybe not actually go out of your way and make new friends or do new things in your city. And there's nothing wrong with that also, by the way. Some people don't want to do that, and that's perfectly fine. But if that's what you do want, which is, I guess in my opinion, the people who want to do that in their city, they probably are moving to New York for that specific reason as well. Like, people who move to New York City are wanting to do those things. And so yeah, those same people, I think, would be doing that. Like, wait, what am I saying? People who move to New York for that specific reason are the same type of people that apply here in this situation when we're talking about a person going out of their way to find new experiences in a city like LA or DC or Seattle or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Anyways, I think that is my hot take then, is that, yeah, living in a city where your entire like romanticized early to mid to late 20s lifestyle isn't just thrusted upon you. I feel like living in a city that's not like that, it makes you more independent. It actually makes you create your reality a bit more to some extent. And yeah, I mean, because also to gain independence means to kind of thrust yourself into new situations in the first place. I mean, you can't gain independence without changing up your lifestyle, changing up aspects about you, I guess, that aren't inherently maybe natural for you, getting out of your comfort zone, whatever it is. So that is my hot take. Okay, next one. I'm going kind of fast here, but yeah. Okay, next idea, or I keep saying idea, but like next thing that I see, I guess, in my notes app is this thing that I also wrote last week, which was that, things from our early childhood, I guess, or not early childhood, but just things from our childhood in general and our lives, they feel a lot more meaningful to us, because, they were our first, whatever it is, like, our first, I don't know, heartbreak, first love, first whatever it is, like, it's your first something, first friendship, first, I don't know, like, certain type of experience, it feels more meaningful to us because of it being our first whatever it is. But I also wonder to some extent how maybe that meaning, and also why whatever it is could be so emotionally charged, whether it be more hurtful or more exciting and happy and whatever it is. I wonder how much of that is influenced by our perception of time. I feel like when we're young, also I know this is a psychological thing, like it's literally like a proven psychological thing, where some meaningful moments when you're younger, they feel more sad or more happy or whatever it is, because I don't know, for example, your dopamine levels, I'm pretty sure they like peak when you're in adolescence or whatever it is, which is kind of depressing to think about. I'm pretty sure there's studies out there that literally prove that we biologically feel emotions at a much stronger intensity when we are teenagers or children. And so anyways, on that note though, what I was trying to say is I think yes, like something being our first whatever it is, that makes it more meaningful to us, a lot of those childhood experiences. But I also wonder how much of it is influenced by our perception of time, because I also know that time moves and felt so much slower when I was a teenager, a child, whatever it is, like literally up until the age of 18, literally until I graduated high school. I think time was going by so slowly, and then after that it like has become incredibly fast. But I just wonder how much of that meaning is also attached to our perception of time, because I feel like when something feels like it's lasting for so long, maybe it's easier for our brains to also derive some level of meaning from time, if that makes sense. Like if something lasts for such a long time, maybe your brain creates an association between that and like inherent meaning in it. I think that's also like a thing, like how people, for example, they will stay with their partner for like so many years, and they inherently derive so much meaning in the fact that they've been with that person for so long. Even if that relationship wasn't a good one, actually, they might stay just for the sake of the fact that they have been with that person for so long. It's almost like, oh, like why would I leave now? Even if it's not really serving me, like why would I leave now? Like I've been with this person for so long. Like people value time so much, in my opinion, more than I think they should, which is funny coming from me because I am the most nostalgic person you will ever meet, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. But anyways, going back to what I was saying, this is actually an interesting point that I'm making. I did not write this part down at all. I swear to you, like I'm thinking of this on the spot right now. All of this. I just have like 2 sentences written down from this thing that I wrote. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I think people inherently associate a lot of meaning with time. And so maybe that's why things felt so much more meaningful to us back then, because again, we as humans in society, in our socially constructed society, we inherently give time so much meaning, so much more than it should have, to be honest. And I could go off on so many tangents in regards to that, but I think because of that, maybe, yeah, things just feel more meaningful because, if it's something that you're doing for years and years and years on end, in your head, it feels like that, at least. Like, for example, when I was in high school, 4 years of high school feel like literally an eternity, for example. So I think, yeah, just having that association, it probably makes things feel like there's so much more meaning than there actually is. And that's also probably why people just don't feel as emotionally attached to things nowadays as you grow up, once you've left adolescence in the past. That's a very funny way of saying getting older. But okay, guys, this is future me jumping in, whatever, to say that I didn't explain this that well. I'll try to very quickly summarize what I was trying to say. It's also really funny that I didn't explain it very well, given the fact that I feel like the next clip that you're going to hear after I finish talking right now is kind of a little bit ironic, given what I was saying. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, basically what I was trying to say here is that I think that oftentimes when you're younger, I feel like because time is just moving by so much more slowly, than it does when you're an adult, for example, I think that things have so much more meaning because it feels like it's just going on and on and on for such a long portion of your life. And so, yeah, I think your brain sometimes creates some level of meaning, some larger level of deeper meaning, simply because it's something that feels like it's lasted for much longer, if that makes sense. I don't know if that really makes sense. It makes sense in my head, but I'm not the best at explaining things sometimes, actually a lot of the time. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is I feel like a lot of times we hold so much value in things from when we were younger, and things felt so much worse when we were younger, because I guess the best way that I can explain it is this: if I spend 10 years at this one job versus 2 years at this one job, I feel like people would probably say, oh, well, you probably have more of an emotional connection to that 10-year long job rather than the 2-year long job because you spent more time in it. So I think it's kind of like that, where I feel like because it feels like we spent so long feeling a certain kind of emotion when we were younger, or in a certain kind of situation when we were younger, I feel like it inherently makes, I keep saying the word inherently, but I feel like it kind of just makes us feel more emotionally attached to whatever that thing is from when we were younger. And it also so happens that a lot of those same things are also our first whatever, our first lesson in life, our first experience of whatever it is. So I feel like it's just interesting, I guess. Okay, I need to stop talking. Also, guys, spoiler alert, I have ADHD, and I found out this year, actually. I'm 23, did not know that. I will be making a whole long episode on that another day, but that's why I'm talking like this. Well, actually, I actually don't talk this fast usually, but my thoughts are just kind of spurting out right now because I have so many thoughts and so many ideas, and oh my god, and I could just keep talking and talking and talking, and I actually, even though I have ADHD, I don't usually talk that fast. But for some reason today, I feel like I'm talking more fast than I usually do. Anyways, I have a lot more ideas, but we're just going to save them all for now because this is going to be a short episode. I'm talking really fast now. Okay, I'll stop. So I think I will probably end this episode now. I have, again, so much to say, but I don't want to make this too long because I'm kind of introducing my podcast episodes back into the world again because I haven't made them in so long. And I, again, have so many ideas. But for now, we're going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening. And I think my cookies are about to be done. I'm going to pop them out of the oven now. So thank you. Bye.